What if, now hear me out, what if these new Democrats stayed in their lane? Dyze in your house. Exclusively on East Coast Radio.
Mile journey begins with one step. Progressives took that step on November 6th. The journey's not over, but we took a step in the right direction.
If you don't know what Staten Island is, it's like New York's abortion that lived.
Did you see New York 11 elected a Democrat? New York 11 is Staten Island, the most Trumpian place in New York City. Elected a Democrat. Don't try to tell me it wasn't a wave. Robert Mueller isn't the only person investigating Trump now. We have the House Intel Committee is now chaired by Adam Schiff, and they have subpoena power. And he will use it. And he will get to the bottom of this, like he's been trying to do for the last 2 years, and Devin Nunes has been stymieing him. Devin Nunes is no longer the chairman. The midnight runs to the White House are over. I made a promise to the listeners of East Coast Radio that if the Democrats did not mess up November, that if November 6th went our way, that we would have a little fun here on East Coast Radio. And if you stay tuned, I promise you this. Along with our fighting fascism and trying to save democracy, we will have a little fun. Because we earned it. Keep it locked to East Coast Radio. Remember, we got Dyze in your house at the end of the week. We got the J Parks podcast at the beginning of the week. Every week, East Coast Radio for the least heard voices. Get us on Patreon, patreon.com/JParks, and follow us on Twitter at East Coast Radio. Let's punch fascism in the face. One podcast at a time.
If you don't know what Staten Island is, it's like New York's abortion that lived. Representing Staten Island. Staten Island wasn't no joke.
Hey yo, who's in the house? Dyze in your house. What is the word, peeps? What goes on? It is Friday, either at midnight, in the wee hours of the morning, in the morning, midday, whatever part of the day, on Friday, we are always back with another action-packed edition of Dyze in your house, here on East Coast Radio, for the least heard voices. This is where we take a section of the podcast, of the J Parks podcast, and we move it. It's not really a move. It's more of like there was so much. There's rolling deadlines now. There used to be a news cycle. There is not anymore. So at the end of the week, Dyze in your house usually sticks with one topic. We stick with one. We got background music. We don't do edits. We don't cut anything. We just roll. And it's shorter, digestible, and it should make you pine for more. And if you do pine for more, there is always the J Parks podcast, which comes out every Sunday on East Coast Radio for the least heard voices. How do you support East Coast Radio, you're probably asking yourself. I'm so glad you asked that. What you have to do is go to patreon.com/JParks. Get the word out there, tell your friends, become a East Coast Radio head. What we do here on East Coast Radio is we fight fascism, one podcast at a time. And now that the blue wave is still washing up over the Red Sea, we will discuss where we go from here. We spent 104 weeks pining for new leadership in Washington. And we got a third of that new leadership into Washington last Tuesday. With more races being called, the blue wave is becoming more vast by the race. But with great victories comes people trying to snatch defeat out of the jaws of victory. And we're going to talk a little bit today about Pelosi Gate. This is where Democrats do the Republicans a very big favor by assisting them in their party fear-mongering, make America hate again atmosphere. For years, the boogeyman of the Republican Party, if it's not Obama, if it's not Hillary Clinton, if it's not George Soros, it's Nancy Pelosi. Why is it Nancy Pelosi? Well, apparently, the only enemies of the Republican Party are people that get things done. So, enter Nancy Pelosi. Now, I get Republicans wanting to see discourse in the Democratic caucus. I get that. That's how Republicans are. They want to look at the Democrats and see a glimpse of their own party. A party that's failing and will never return to power again. They want that. Now, if we're going to continue the progressive movements that we made on Tuesday night and this week, and continue to make, if we are going to continue to strive forward, we need to do that with Nancy Pelosi as the Speaker of the House. Hear me out. I don't want to be an old guy who sits there and says, what are these kids up to these days? These kids need to stay in their lane. But what are these kids up to these days? These kids need to stay in their lane. And I understand, first of all, I don't understand how a Democrat would put in their platform, they're running for Congress, but they're not going to vote for Pelosi. Okay, who are you going to vote for? Silence. See, that's another thing. This hashtag 5 white guys, have you seen this? Not even going to dignify them by name. We got 5 white guys who are trying to oust Nancy Pelosi. Now, I don't quite have all of the rules of how the Speaker of the House votes. The majority speaker. I don't know how the votes get cast. Because I'm hearing that there's going to be a full floor vote, and she needs to get 218. Like, wait, Republicans get to vote on who's going to be the Speaker of the House when they don't have control of the House? They just voted on Kevin McCarthy. That's their guy. He'll be Speaker if they ever take over again, which they never will, if we continue to be progressive and move towards progression and not move back. Nancy Pelosi has done a lot of good for this country. Affordable Care Act. There's not one brick in the wall. Without power, she swung a big stick for years. And trust me when I tell you that she does not desire to be in this role for the next 10 years. The word is that she would have stepped down from Speaker had Hillary Clinton won. But when Hillary Clinton didn't win, even though Hillary Clinton did win, but she didn't win, when Hillary Clinton didn't win, she decided she had to stay on because she is now the most powerful Democrat in the country. Who is in a position of elected power, or is in a position of government authority, nonetheless. So we got a hashtag 5 white guys, and it's weird, because everyone who is outraged about Pelosi Gate, like everyone using the hashtag Pelosi for Speaker, which we're going to name this podcast, hashtag Pelosi for Speaker. Everybody using that hashtag automatically draws a line between no Pelosi, and this is all Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's fault. And I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez votes for Nancy Pelosi on the floor. I'm going out on a limb to say that. And I'll tell you why. Because Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and anybody that would like to join her in getting policy passed for their constituents needs the help of an experienced Speaker of the House. And that experienced, savvy Speaker of the House is Nancy Pelosi. There is no other option. They didn't even come with a plan. Did not even come with a plan. Nancy Pelosi had a plan. Nancy Pelosi was like grooming Joe Crowley to take it. What happened to Joe Crowley? Picked off by AOC. Joe Crowley got caught sleeping and it cost him a lot. But now there's an opportunity. I said Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She has a loud voice. Why don't you attach yourself to Nancy Pelosi? Make your voice even louder. Because she was over there protesting at Pelosi's office. Something about a climate committee that a Democratic House had already planned on reconvening. You reconvene. Yeah, whatever the case may be. They were gonna reopen it again. They were gonna have the committee. So she's over there like, save the planet or step aside. She's over there protesting just to protest. And I get why people would dislike that. But later on in the day, she tweeted, thank you, Nancy Pelosi. Like, when Nancy Pelosi tweeted, like, not only do I want there to be this committee, we're going to have it, but also Capitol Police should not arrest these protesters. She tweets, thank you, Nancy Pelosi, for showing great leadership. And it's like, you definitely seem like you're going to vote for her. Why are we coming into the House and spilling everything on the floor already? Why are we having this? Why is this infighting happening? Here's what is going to happen. Nancy Pelosi is going to give the people that don't want to vote for her an assurance that in 2 years, she's not going to, be Speaker of the House again. And then, that gives whoever wants to, 5 white guys, 6 white guys, however many white guys want to get together and figure out who the next option would be for Speaker of the House, gives them 2 years to plan that. Gives them 2 years to maybe watch and learn. Because I'm sorry that I don't feel that Nancy Pelosi is the enemy here. I apologize. I think she's the reason why we flipped a lot of California seats, and she raised a lot of money, and she knows how to do policy, and she knows how to work things, and she knows how to get votes. So if everyone could just settle down, stop making the Democrats look like clowns, and I'm so sick of hearing the line about how, well, for 2020, Democrats need to move more towards the center if they want to win the presidential. They gotta govern like centrists, govern like moderates. Why is it that when Republicans come in control, they're allowed to govern like Nazis, and nobody questions what they do because they get whatever policies they want done? Well, they wanted to get it done, they got it done. Look, they got Supreme Court justices, this and that. They won the race, they got the votes. They wanted it to get done, they got it done, they got it done. Democrats want to be a little more progressive than like Bill Clinton was in 1992, and the whole country, the whole media is like, oh man, these Democrats, they really got to move away from the left. They really got to move back to the center. When in reality, the entire country is moving more towards the left. The entire country. All we got to do is figure out how to get these people the ability to vote and their vote get counted. I hope they didn't leave their voter ID at home in case they needed to buy cereal. That's a whole nother wacky trope that we'll talk about on the Jay Porks podcast. That dude in the Oval Office, that dude is a fucking loon, man. I mean, I know he's been a loon, But it's so bad right now. It gets worse and worse and worse. This is watching what happens to your brain as you age. And as you know, if you spend the whole life not taking care of yourself, this is what happens to you. Your mind slowly deteriorates. And it's something for the deterioration of a mind that was so small, so childish, so menial in the first place. To watch that mind deteriorate is scary. So here's what I will say this. I'm not a bullhorn for the Republican Party. I live on Staten Island. We just flipped back to blue. Okay? So I'm not sitting here saying that I can reach, the entire 400 or what, 230 Democratic congressional districts. I'm not saying that I can reach all those people and have them listen to me. But I will say this. If Max Rose wants to come back to Staten Island in 2 years because he's voted out of office, he can not support Nancy Pelosi. Or what he could do is he can, work with Nancy Pelosi, get some bills passed that might help his constituents, that his constituents want, get something with this opioid crisis, get some infrastructure done so these bridges can be repaired, so the highways can be repaired, we can have less traffic. Remember Max Rose? That's all you were talking about, traffic and opioids. Why don't we do that? Why doesn't Max Rose work with Nancy Pelosi? Much like I believe Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez will work with Nancy Pelosi. It's a fool's errand. It is a fool's errand to believe that the second after getting in power, that we're gonna just be able to have all this infighting and drama, and it's going to all work out okay in the end. This needs to stop right now. This needs to stop like yesterday. Because, we need to show who the adults are in the room. We need to show who the adults are in this country. We need to show why educated people come out and vote for progressives over Republicans. We have to show why we don't have Nazis in our party and nationalists. Why we're the people that care about you. And I believe with the majority we have in the House, there is a awesome chance of Democrats making some real policy changes in voting rights, automatic voter registration, lowering prescription drug prices, trying to figure out what we're going to do about healthcare. The way to do it where we all get it for free. That's what I mean. And protecting Bob Mueller. Reopening all these investigations, or opening all these investigations into Trump. Subpoenaing people, getting actual answers, so we can be able to tell the American people what actually happened. Instead of telling them, oh, you gotta go watch Active Measures on Hulu to find out. Not everyone has Hulu. Not everyone has Apple products and they don't want to buy it on iTunes. So, long story short, hashtag Pelosi for Speaker, hashtag young Dems, sit down, stay in your lane, get bills passed, and do what you were voted in to do. And that's help your community. J Porks, Dyze in your house, Least Coast Radio. Hey yo! J Porks here, recording my own commercials as per usual. But I am here to tell you about going to patreon.com/JPorks, and you have the opportunity to help support Least Coast Radio by becoming a Least Coast Radio head. How do you do that, you say? Well, there are 3 different tiers to choose from, where you can find yourself bonus content, bonus features from the J Porks podcast, from Dyze in your house, from all things Least Coast Radio. Now, what are those features? Well, they're bonus shows. They're getting shows early. They're getting exclusive artwork mailed to the address of your choosing monthly. You can interact with all the hosts here on Least Coast Radio. You can get shout-outs on the podcast, behind the scenes stuff. That's on Dyze in Your House and the J Porks podcast. You get them both here on Least Coast Radio. Dyze in Your House is usually the primer at the end of the week. The J Porks podcast is the long show. What we do at the beginning of the week to get you going, to take in everything that happened. But I need some help. And how you can help Least Coast Radio is by following us on Twitter at Least Coast Radio, going to patreon.com/JPorks, becoming a Patreon, becoming a Least Coast Radio head. And, if you don't want to do any of those things, you can smash that subscribe button on iTunes or YouTube. And, you can, it wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt to share the podcast with your friends. So keep it locked to Least Coast Radio for the least heard voices. We're here fighting fascism, saving democracy, but we're also going to have a little fun. Keep it locked.